Hey, welcome to day 5 of True Wealth, Pleasure and Play. If you are there, jump on, say hello. Tell me where you're checking in from. So today is all about pleasure and play, which I definitely have. This is probably one of my most challenging ones, which is kind of funny because it's the most fun. So some questions to think about. This is another opportunity for you to do an audit on your day and your life. Think about how much pleasure and play you experience every day. And also think about, what does that even mean to you? So what are some ways that you experience pleasure? So maybe that's enjoying a nice meal or a deep conversation or connecting with a long-lost friend, experiencing a warm embrace or a fine piece of music that really touches your soul, or having mind-blowing sex. What does pleasure look and feel like to you? And how can you start to bring more of that into your life every day? And then also, what does play look like for you? So maybe that's dancing, laughing, goofing off with your kids or friends. Hey, how's it going? Hi, Tanya, how's it going? So nice to see you. So I'm talking about pleasure and play every day, which is something I actually struggle with. So I would love to hear from you. What are some ways that you play every day? So I was just kind of going through a list. So for me, sometimes putting on is a way that I like to play. I also do some improv, which is fun because I get to make a fool of myself and just make up stuff with other people. Sometimes just being goofy for me is playful. So when I'm teaching classes, sometimes I speak in a weird accent, which is kind of weird, but it's fun, it's playful, right? And so the idea is, obviously, the energy that you spend most of your time in is the energy of your being. And so you can cultivate more play and pleasure in your day. You're making yourself available for more creativity, higher reaches of consciousness, because you're really in that place of imagination, which allows you to open yourself up to different opportunities, different experiences, even different feelings that maybe you haven't touched or tapped into for a long time. So the idea with this is to kind of do a little bit of an audit on your day and think about how much of your day or how often and during your day do you allow yourself to play? How much pleasure are you experiencing every day? And then make a little list of, what are all the ways that you experience pleasure? What are all the ways that you like to play? And then ideally is to put that into your day every day. So for me, obviously, I love being outside. So going for a walk every day, and even multiple times a day if I can go in the morning and the evening, is a way for me just to play. I like to also work out at the park, the playground, because it feels more like play than working out when I'm at a playground, which is funny. But what else? Sometimes coloring or painting helps me feel like I'm just playing. And what else can I think of? What are some of your ideas? What are some ways that you play? I know we all experience play and pleasure differently, so I'd love your thoughts on, what does play look and feel like to you? What does pleasure look and feel like to you? And how often are you allowing yourself to experience it? So this is where I struggle, because I think it's not just me. I think it's in our culture, right? Is especially as adults, right? We're sort of programmed. Work comes before play, and play is seen as not as important as work. But the idea behind all this in the work, quote unquote, is to shift so that we see play as essential to our work, as essential to our life, as air and water, because it truly is essential to our being to activate those higher states of consciousness, which are most easily accessed through pleasure and play, because then we're tapping into, like I mentioned, imagination, creativity, opening yourself up to new opportunities and experiences. Okay. So I'll just share some commitments. So today, so I'm going on a walk. This is one way that I'll experience play. I also have been dancing one of my new favorite songs, just letting myself dance to that song. Hey Steve, how's it going? That'll be another way. We're talking about pleasure and play today, Steve. So we're brainstorming some ways to bring more pleasure and play into your day and shifting our thoughts around so that we see pleasure and play as critical to our health, as critical to our life, as critical to our business, as air and water is to survival, because it truly is that important. So that we're experiencing more and more parts of our day in those higher levels of consciousness and less in those lower levels, which are, anxiety, fear, hustle. Those aren't necessarily the most activating places to be operating from. So the more we can shift into being more in pleasure, play, creativity, imagination, the more that's how we show up in all of our situations and every aspect of our life. So what are some ways that you play, Steve? I was sharing that I like to dance. I would love to play guitar, but I don't actually practice, so it makes it a little bit difficult. And then pleasure too. So finding ways to experience pleasure. And it doesn't have to just be sexual pleasure. It can be, intellectual, like you are stimulated by a really deep conversation and it's really pleasurable for you. Focusing on allowing yourself just to sit and listen to an amazing piece of music can be super pleasurable. Cooking a nice meal can be pleasurable. So finding all the different ways that you can experience pleasure as well is another opportunity for you, again, to tap into those higher levels of consciousness. Good reminder. Thanks, Tanya. So if you all are willing, I'd love to hear some of the ways that you experience pleasure or you would like to experience pleasure today, and some ways you would like to play today so that you can hopefully, not just by saying it to me, but by saying it, it'll help you commit to doing something today that brings you pleasure and doing something today that allows you to play, to tap into that childlike energy. All right, I don't see any comments. Okay, so my commitment is to go dance to one of my favorite songs. That'll be another way I play, as well as walking here is another of my favorite ways to play. And then pleasure. What can I do today to feel pleasure? I think that's a hard one now that I'm on the spot. I think, one of the ways that I would like to experience pleasure today is to have a really deep conversation with a good friend. So I haven't really had that in a while, so that would be a good way for me to stretch myself too, to do something I haven't done in a while. And if you all have thoughts about how you might do this, I'd love to hear, so we can all keep ourselves in that space of creating more pleasure in our lives, creating more play in our lives, allowing ourselves to be more playful and creative and imaginative, and allowing ourselves to feel more pleasure, because like I said, it's essential. All right. I don't see any comments, so if y'all want to share your commitments later, I'd love to hear. And thanks so much for being here and watching. And go out today, please. Do something pleasurable, do something that's playful. And I'll talk to you all soon. All right, bye.